All right, and I believe, Mikey, we should be live if I'm not
We're active. That's New York Vinnie wearing the New York Mets shirt today, and he has a right to wear them. They're 18, and let's see.
Well, even more importantly today, good morning, Michael.
16 and 6.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
More importantly to that is they started the weekend off with something that is so rare that that Met fans had eluded us for so many years, and that is a no-hitter.
If it was easy, everybody would throw a no-hitter.
Yeah, I mean, it's their second no-hitter of their franchise history, and it was a combined no-hitter. But I think you're going to see those more and more these days because managers take pitchers out now according not to what they feel, but what some stat.
Pitch count. That's 43. Out you go.
Yeah. But it was a great way to start the weekend. And also, to watch him. Listen, we talked about this the other day. Anytime you see him beat up the Phillies,
it's a good day.
It's a good day. That's all LA Dodgers. That's our, earlier, traditionally, the Phillies have been our rival. St. Louis has snuck in there, and the Braves, when Chipper Jones was playing, really became the number one rival. But for underlying it all are the Phillies, because Phillies fans don't like us, and we are more than happy to return the favor to the Phillies fans.
Is that because you said something about Robin Roberts and his old age? Is that because you said something nasty?
No, I think it's much more because Philadelphia is a city that has an inferiority complex.
You mean like Washington State?
Right. They're never going to be as good as New York. They're never going to be, as great a city as New York is. They're never going to be, even their mafia guys aren't as good as the mafia guys in New York.
You're never going to have two baseball teams. Look at it that way.
Well, they did at one time, but, then they didn't.
Then they didn't. And now they don't.
They did, and then they didn't.
Well,
were
you watching that game or listening or following along?
No, I did not realize what was going on, and I was doing something else Friday night, and then after I get the little notices on my phone for whatever happens with the Mets and the Mariners and the Giants, actually. You got the notice that that they pitched a no-hitter, and I remember watching. I was in Pittsburgh when Santana pitched his no-hitter, and sitting, matter of fact, in a sports pit back there with because we had the Pirates post game. I was doing the Pirates pre and post game at that time, and we were sitting there, and I remember arguing because. For some reason now, and I can't remember off the top of my head why, they thought that Santana shouldn't have got the no-hitter or something like that. There was some controversial play. But, those were disgruntled Pittsburgh people.
Some play in the field, some play in the infield.
Yeah, it was some play where they called somebody out when he probably should have been safe. But, hey.
We had a little bit of controversy like that in the Warriors game. I don't know if you happened to see the Warriors game with John Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies.
No, I did not. I only know that they won.
Draymond Green got thrown out of the game in the first half for a foul where he went up with the guy right at the rim, and Draymond Green brought him down by the front of his jersey, and they threw him out of the game for that. And it was questionable. But what I found hard to swallow was that the Memphis fans made the decision for the NBA, chanting, throw him out, throw him out. And the referees go, hey, we're going to throw him out. What do you think of that? It's like mob rule in Memphis.
Well, and that's something new.
Live on ABC, it's new.
It's a different mob down there. It's not your everyday, it's not the officially endorsed mob, but, it's...
But what did they get for their trouble? What did they get for mob rule? They lost by 1 point at the buzzer, 117-116. A great game.
Well, the Warriors hit the gas. listen, I don't know if the Warriors are going to win the title this year, but they're always, I think, for my money, always a fun team to watch.
I had him as a favorite with Boston, and then Boston goes right out and loses the first game to Milwaukee, which I really surprised me because Milwaukee sort of pushed them around.
It'd be a nice finals. Boston and the Warriors would be an interesting finals, I think. What else happened this weekend? Oh, and then you had the game last night, the Mets game. I mean, it was a great weekend because the Mets are on TV. It's the Sunday night game.
I know.
Happen to watch or happen to see what they're doing with the games? They're doing something similar to Monday Night Football where they had Peyton, the Manning brothers.
Right. Who does the alternative version?
So it's Alex Rodriguez and Michael Kay.
Well, I salute Michael Kay for suffering through the situation with Alex Rodriguez.
And it was. I watched a couple of minutes of it. You know what? It was too busy for me for baseball. And when I tuned in, they had the McEnroe brothers on, who have been longtime Met fans. Matter of fact, it was great to see John, in a Mets jersey and a Mets cap and everything. I mean, they're absolutely. They've been in for the longest time.
Plus, they're such characters.
Plus they're such characters. And Hernandez was on there for a little while, but I just found it. I found it for football, I liked it. For baseball, it doesn't do much for me because you have to pay attention.
Yeah.
In baseball, as much as you say, and I think, and you would think that baseball would lend itself to that, because you have the pauses and everything like that. But it was, it just didn't do anything for me.
Well, you can't be too busy in a situation like that. Your alternative broadcast has to mimic the pace of the game. Now, if it's the eighth inning, the bases are loaded and the slugger's up, we got a situation. Let's watch it quietly, but you don't talk over it. You concentrate on it. You point out where the third baseman is moving. You give some information, but you have to honor the moment and you can't talk through it.
Right. And I watched it for an inning or two, maybe an inning. And it just got too busy for me, so I switched over to just the normal broadcast, with I guess what is it, Steve Levy calls the game. And it was just much better. And I didn't even think of it. I should have just went to my MLB TV thing and watched the hometown how.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. Despite the great talent that Alex Rodriguez has, as a play-by-play guy, I've never, or as an analyst, or as a baseball aficionado, I've never been very convinced or impressed with his on-air delivery. And when he and the Big Hurt and Big Poppy were all part of the Fox broadcast, I thought, God, can't anybody say anything that makes any sense in this whole damn.
Yeah, it was a train wreck. I would agree about it. See, Alex, I mean, listen, I'm not going to say anything bad about Alex in the sense that, and I said this years ago, Alex was not a baseball player. Alex Rodriguez was somebody who had a certain amount of skills in baseball that would get him to where he wanted to go. And that's how he would get. He wanted to be a star. He wanted to play in New York. He wanted to be, but his ultimate goal was not. I think he could care less if he was the best shortstop of all time, the best third base, the best whatever. I think for Alex, it was, I want to be in New York. I want to be a star. I want to hang out with the glitz. I want to roll on a soap opera. That kind of stuff. He was much more interested in the entertainment field than he was in the game of baseball itself.
Well, you're probably right about that.
Yeah, and you could see it, early on with him, and through, I had a number of really interesting conversations with him over the years he was here, and he was just, that was his, you could tell it, that was his thing. That's what he wanted. And he got it. And so, listen, he had a plan, he stuck to his plan, and it did well for him. Except the J-Lo part probably didn't go too well.
Well, why Michael K and Alex, how would you describe their give and take?
Well, it was, again, it's a hard situation because they're not doing a play-by-play. I think you got two large egos in the room, and each one of them is trying to shine. And sometimes that can be great, and sometimes it can be a train wreck.
As the seeds were saying, you're pushing too hard.
Right. And I think last night's broadcast, from what I watched of it, was somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. They haven't got their sea legs yet.
Yeah. I would give them I think they're going to do it every Sunday night now. I think that you got to give them a little time to, get used to each other, get with each other. I don't know what you have to, but it's not like they don't know each other. It's not like they're not familiar with each other. It's not like you're taking two guys that you don't know and throwing them in there. So I think it's an interesting, but I mean, Kay's ego is as big as any baseball player's. And he should be. He's like, what, the number one? He's got the number one show, afternoon drive show in the city. So I guess he's got a right to have an ego if he wants to. I didn't find it. I like guys to tell me about the game. I don't care who they dated last night. I don't care what they drank last night. A little bit of that is good, but I like, it's why I like guys like Mike Blowers, who does the Mariners games, because he gives you information about the game and what people are doing, what tendencies are. I'll tell you what I thought was, it's what I thought I was going to hate it last night. It wound up being really good. Was they mic'd up the shortstop, the Mets shortstop, and they actually kept the mic on throughout an inning of him out on the field. And I thought it was fascinating because he was explaining, like he was telling people, like there was a part where he's telling people, look up. And what he's saying is the stadium is crowded. You're not going to hear anybody coming for the ball saying, I got it. So use your hands, signal with your hands.
If you're an infielder, yeah.
Yeah. Signal with your hands if you got it, so you don't run into each other. He was really captaining. He was running the offense, the defense on the field. And there was another one where they were shading over playing. He's looking at his card and he's saying, okay, my tendencies are to play this guy over here. And although I don't like the idea of players being mic'd up on the field, he seemed to be able to do it and handle it, and even turn to double play while they were doing it. It was pretty cool to hear the ball snap into the glove and the whir of the ball as he threw it.
Excellent.
It was really very, very cool to hear that. It was, as if you were out there on the field. I thought it was, I came away from it actually really appreciating it. I wouldn't want to see somebody mic'd up, all the time, but
no, another reason that the Phillies and the Mets hate each other is the Phillies made acquisitions through the offseason. They have a power team put together. They're supposed to be someone that you must contend with. Their arch rivals are the Mets, who now have among the best records in baseball. They have 16 wins, and the two clash together. The team that's supposed to have invested in their future can't put together a win, and the team that has been in the past subservient to the Phillies and unable to meet their goals, the Mets come out and they're one of the most exciting teams in baseball this year. So there's a wonderful scenario there of be careful what you hope for, or look out for what you think you've purchased in the National League, because it ain't always that way. Ask the LA Dodgers.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was really tough to. It was listen. They've had some really crazy seasons. The Mets. They've had talent all along, but with the new owner coming in, the money he spent. I mean, it's the first Mets team that's ever hit the luxury tax. It's great to see the ballpark full. It's great to see people wearing their Met stuff. I can't wait to go back to a game, live at Citi Field, or as I like to call it, Debits Field. I just think it's, this has the potential to be a very special year for this franchise, and they're exciting. Buck Showalter, I take back everything bad I ever said about him.
I know you've been gradually going in that direction.
Yeah, no, really. He looks like a manager. He runs the game like a manager. He looks like a captain. He's standing on the top step of that dugout. He doesn't have he's not dressed he wears his uniform.
Yes.
He's
not a variation
over softball shirt or something like that. He's got his he's proud to wear his uniform no matter where he is.
What number does he wear?
11, I believe.
Powerful number.
Which is Roy McMillan's old number.
Well, what's the rule, Vinny? Do you know the rule? Must the manager dress in the team colors, or must the manager wear a uniform?
I don't think no, because there have been managers in the past who have managed the street clothes. Probably the one that people would be most familiar with would be Connie Mack. But also
Connie Mack wore a three-piece suit, didn't he?
Yeah, he wore a three-piece suit. His name is but the longtime Dodgers manager before Alston wore a suit. There's been a few others. I think Ted Turner didn't wear a uniform the one day he managed the Braves. I think he wore street clothes. But no, I don't think there's a requirement that the manager wear. Now it may have changed over the past years, but what was was it Bert Hooton? No. Schotten, maybe? I can't remember the Dodger manager, but he wore street clothes for years.
Because he had to catch after the game, he had to catch the trolley. He didn't want to look like a buffoon out there in Brooklyn.
Or he wanted to just melt with how bad the Dodgers were at times. He probably just wanted to melt into the crowd. I'm getting out of here, kid. See you later. Just beer in the cooler.
Aren't you the manager? Look at me. Am I a manager? I got to go home. I got messages to return.
Oh, man. So there was that. And, there was other history made in New York baseball over the weekend too. I don't know if you saw this or heard about this, but there was something that many people thought would never, ever happen over the weekend in baseball. Something that is opened the door to, we'll see what it's opened the door to. But Kelsey Whitmore took the field on Saturday for the Staten Islander Ferry Hawks, which I think is a great name, in the Atlantic League. Sunday afternoon, she became the first woman to be in a starting lineup for an Atlantic League game.
What does she play?
She played left and she batted ninth. It happened against the Gastonia Honey Hunters in Gastonia, North Carolina.
Wow. Congratulations.
And this is, we had the first woman to coach. We already have a woman manager in the minor leagues. But now we have Kelsey Whitmore.
taking
and
the field.
she is a regular player. So
So
if
is that an A league on Long Island?
it's on Staten Island, and I
Staten
believe
Island.
yes, it is an A league, and well, it says a lot of things, but I think the biggest thing that it says is that if you are a woman and you're good at your game and you can play as equal as a man can, which I think is probably very tough in baseball because
Then get your mitt.
the physical differences, but if you can play, you're in. You know, there used to be a rule that said that no women can play.
Which is pretty hard to break the
Right.
the
There was an actual rule
blackout. Yeah.
in the rules, and I think they took it out several years ago. But I just think it's great, Michael. I think that before we leave this mortal coil, we will
Is
see
that
a
what this?
woman.
Where is the mortal coil? Am I sitting on it, or have you seen
It's
one?
the Earth, I guess.
Okay, like that answers my question. So I am sitting on it.
But you will. I think you'll see a woman in the major leagues, whether it be.
How did she do? Did she get a hit?
You know what? I don't
Base
know.
on balls, something, score a run.
I don't know if she did. Let's see. She went 0 for 2 with a strikeout. She was hit by a pitch.
Oh,
Welcome to the
welcome to the league.
welcome to the show. So I think that'll be I think that's something worth looking at, keeping an eye on. I think much as like Eddie Goodell was brought into the game more as a oddity than anything else. I don't think it'll be an oddity with a woman. I think they'll come along a woman who has the ability to play a certain position. And again, they're not going to be able to play all positions.
Well, a woman with a lot of junk could probably pitch.
I was just going to say that.
Put it where they ain't and see what happens.
To pitch. I mean, we've seen, guapos pitching all the time. We've seen people that have relatively no business being anywhere near an athletic supporter.
It happens. It happens, ladies and gentlemen.
Out there on the hill, and if they got enough, if they know how to throw a ball and they can get it past somebody, who's to say that some club isn't going to say to them, "Let's go. Let's see if you can do it."
Invariably, I think a pitcher with a lot of junk is more dangerous, especially to the power hitters that we see today, than somebody who throws 90 miles an hour. Because how many guys throw 90? Well, lots of them. How many guys throw 95? Many of them. How many throw 100? A good number of them can throw 100. Well, that doesn't get them out. If you can throw it 100 miles an hour, what does that guarantee you? It guarantees you nothing. But if you put a on it and a fade and a dip, if you put I always love guys who say they have a ball that rises. How do you make a ball rise? I don't know. It's like, well, try to hit one. If you can make the ball rise, just try to hit that one sometime. So I vote for junk.
Well, see, I like junk pitchers too. I always loved the guys. Dave LaRoche, who was La Lob, I mean, he would throw that kind of go up and down. And especially in today's game, where 90% of the hitters are going up there and swinging from their heels. Everybody's trying to hit a home run. You got a little 5'8" guy, and he gets in there and he's and he's swinging like he's freaking Mickey Mantle. And I think that now that you have a designated hitter, maybe you would have a woman on your roster who was a bunt specialist.
Yeah, drag bunt
Specialist, could move the ball. We saw a lot of smaller players in our lives who were proficient at bat control. And I think one other thing with women playing, Mikey, is that I don't know that you have the ego. Some of these guys, I'm not going to bunt. I'm making, what is it? Home run hitters drive Cadillacs, single hitters drive Chevrolets,
Right.
But I don't think a woman is gonna, I mean, they're thinking it's different. What do you need? What needs to be done? Okay, let's do it. You want me to drop a drag bunt? I'm happy just to be here. Watch me. Boom.
And Ichiro did a lot of work with that technique.
Ichiro got up the line, I think, faster. But again, another guy, and although he has a big ego, I'm not going to say he doesn't have an ego, another guy who mastered bat control, who mastered putting the ball where he wanted to put it. And he was a wisp of a guy. Now he had his training routine was different than, he didn't spend, I don't think, a lot of time in the weight room, but his exercises as far as hand-eye coordination, strengthening certain parts of his body that he needed to play the game, his mental concentration was different than anything I'd ever seen in a clubhouse. And I asked players at the time, and they would tell me he has a completely unique and different operating system, training regimen than anybody else in the clubhouse. Much as Edgar Martinez. I mean, Edgar worked with the weights, obviously, but Edgar also did much more hand-eye coordination. I don't know if you remember, he had the tennis balls with his eyes, and he would use those to get his eyes where he could see the ball perfectly.
Send that message to the brain so the brain can hit the ball.
Right. I mean, and Edgar was one of the greatest hitters the game has ever seen. Certainly the best designated hitter the game has ever seen. And he could double like he was going out of style.
If you want to believe Ted Williams, his eyesight was probably one of the biggest gifts he had. He could follow the rotation of the ball and did so to the consternation of the pitcher. He knew it was a strike before the umpire did.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think those factors probably say that if you have a woman who is strong enough and has the mental makeup to endure what a woman would have to endure in the major leagues.
Yeah.
And it's not just because she's a woman, but it's any rookie comes up and gets the treatment.
The traveling treatment. Get my bag, Rook.
Yeah. If they could endure that, why not? Why not? If I'm an owner of a team, if I'm a manager and she can help me win.
Oh yeah. Suddenly it all makes sense.
I don't care. I don't care if she's, what she is. Woman, man, anything in between. If they can help me win, that's all you really need to care about.
And she plays for the Ferry Hawks.
Ferry Hawks, like the Staten Island Ferry.
I like it.
Their ballpark is located right next to the ferry terminal out on Staten Island. It's interesting when you go to New York, in the old days, you used to have Yankee Stadium and the Polo Grounds right across from each other, the Harlem River. Well, nowadays, you have the Staten Island Ferry Hawks playing in St. George, Staten Island, and directly across the bay in Coney Island, you have the Mets franchise, the Brooklyn Cyclones.
Whoa.
And then, so if you look at it again from the top, it's not the small distance of the Harlem River, but yet that two stadiums looking across at each other is there and evident.
And are they arch rivals, I hope?
I don't really know, Michael, to be honest with you. I'm not that tuned into. I know that they do well. The Cyclones do. I don't know how the Staten Island. I think the Staten Island Yankees. Well, they used to be the Staten Island Yankees. And then the Cyclones are the Mets Farm Club.
And the Cyclones is the ride there, the famous.
Right, the roller coaster is named
Correct.
Cyclone.
Yes. Right.
And but it's a nice little ballpark. It's right there on the boardwalk in Coney Island, and a great atmosphere. Still a bargain. I mean, I think you can still buy, $20 tickets to go, or probably $5 tickets if you want to sit out in the bleachers. And as I always say, the kids don't know that it's not Major League Baseball.
They don't know. Well, what would you recommend on the Coney Island menu before the game? Where should we eat and what should we eat?
Oh, well, listen, I would always, if I was in Coney Island, there's no doubt that I would go to Nathan's before the game.
I knew it.
And I'd get a hot dog and maybe some fried clams.
Let's live a little, for crying out tears.
French fries.
Yes.
And a good old orange drink, and sit out there and at the tables and just eat my lunch happily. I'm sure that they have some, I mean, the menus in these ballparks change, but I'm sure that they have some interesting delicacies. I don't know if they do Nathan's hot dogs in the ballpark. I would hazard a guess that they do, but
you got to pay extra for that.
Maybe not. But Nathan's makes them on the grill, which I like.
Yeah, one thing that the Dodgers have consistently done over the years is they've treated their fans to one of the better hot dogs in the National League, and that's the Dodger dog, which is a 12-incher. It's a big load. I personally don't eat them because why? Because they're Dodger dogs. That's why. Right. I don't eat them. I can get a nice hot Italian sausage and be very happy with myself. But halfway through the Dodger dog, I'm saying, what am I doing? What am I doing to my body, to my future, to my giant fanness, to my pure San Francisco internal combustion engine?
What
have I done? So a sweet Italian sausage, I'm happy and I'm free of all that guilt.
I would be surprised also. Matter of fact, I'm almost sure I've seen this. I'm pretty sure that there's also a kosher stand in the Cyclones ballpark.
Should be.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that there's a kosher, because they get a lot of Jewish, matter of fact, I've actually seen Hasidic Jews in that ballpark.
Excellent.
If
you're a fan, you're a fan.
And hang out and watch, and they have very strict dietary rules that they have to follow.
Pack a lunch and come along with the rabbi.
Yeah, so I'm sure that they have a kosher stand there with that respects their dietary stuff,
because they answer to a higher authority, as you know.
Maybe they serve Hebrew National there. Who knows?
That would be a good idea.
Oh, I don't know if Hebrew National dog's kosher. I don't even know.
Yeah, kosher and non-kosher. They're both.
Because I know they have beef, all beef. Yeah.
No, they're kosher.
Hebrew National. So what else happened over the weekend? Well, we have a ton of baseball, both. As a matter of fact, Mikey, if I'm not mistaken, let me just look real quickly to make sure I'm correct. But if I'm not mistaken, Michael, I think that that this is the first time in a long time.
Is that Hobie Landreth calling about his money?
No, it's actually Smokey Burgess. He's still pissed off about the
Smokey. We used your name in the routine because we love you, not because we're demeaning your speed, of which you were famous.
Yankees, Angels, Mets, Dodgers. Yes, I believe that this is the long time. I don't think it's the first time, but I think it's the first time in many, many years that the Mets, the Dodgers, the Angels, and the Yankees are leading their divisions.
Well, we're going to see about that, because we got 2 games with the Dodgers coming up. With the San Francisco Giants driving the sick van down to the stadium to see if we can put together 9 guys to take the field.
Well, they can always do what Come on out of the stands. Did you wear your uniform to?
Yeah. Can anybody here play this game?
Man, so it'd be nice to. I mean, again, it means nothing at this point. What are we now? 1/5 into the season, or
It's still early. You can say that now.
yeah. But just to see all of these teams winning, and of course, the Giants are in third, but not by much. I think they're a half game. Actually, they're in
Yeah.
second because San Diego and the Dodgers are tied. So they're actually second. They're a half game back. But the one thing I look at with these teams, Mikey, is the run differential.
Well, the Giants made a mess of that over the weekend.
Yeah. But they're still plus 34. They're still banging on teams. I think the Mets might be. Yankees are plus 41. The Mets are plus 37.
In the ballpark.
Yeah. So
well, we try to make baseball sound simple sometimes because it's such a complicated game. But if you've got pitching and power, you're going to do fine. And you've got to bring it no matter who's on the mound. You got to bring it no matter who's at bat. And I say it every week. I say it every day. If you don't hit the ball, I will find someone who will. And that's the Giants thing right now. There's just so many guys that are injured and on the COVID list. If you can't perform, they're going to bring a guy from Sacramento who's going to take a shot at it. And he'll take your job. And it's nobody's fault but your own. You had the position. You had the opportunity. You didn't hit the ball. Hit the ball, or I'll find someone who will.
Yep, I'd be happy to hit the ball for you. And it's interesting. Tampa Bay is a team that's very intriguing this year. And look at Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland is, Minnesota's playing great. Cleveland's right. I mean, there's a lot of really good, really interesting teams. Now the Mariners have fallen on a bit of hard times. I think it's great that they got the hell out of Marlinville.
Yeah. Well, we thank him for Mike Ford. I appreciate that because we need a first baseman right now.
What did the Giants send for Mike Ford? I forgot.
Something for next year.
Yeah, it's weird now that you can trade draft players to be named later in certain draft picks. It's really gotten very, very confusing.
Well, Ford had some good years with the Yankees. He didn't spend much time with Seattle, but his arrival in San Francisco was heralded with a smash single to right that scored 2 runs. So under my edict of hit the damn ball or find someone who will, he walked up and he hit the damn ball. So he starts again against the Dodgers because Brandon Belt, starting first baseman, is in COVID-19 land. And his backup guys, Darren Ruff at first base, is playing the outfield because we have so many sick outfielders. And all the other infielders are ill right across Tommy La Stella. All the rest of them are just sick, injured, coming back after surgeries. It's a long list of problems. So we got to get these bats together if we want to do up some winning.
Yeah, it's well, and again, it'll. I think these things will even out. Hopefully these guys are, on the road, especially the COVID guys. I mean, the other injuries, broken bones, sprains, and things like that. There's only so much you can, do with the COVID thing.
Something else happened this weekend, Vinnie, here in California. I always talk about the size of the county I live in because there are 10 million people in Los Angeles County. 40 million people
county in America, if I'm not mistaken.
40 million people in the state of California. And here we've just been notified that we must reduce our water use by 35%. So I've already started. If it's brown, flush it down. If it's yellow, be mellow. The old rules are applied. Washing in the kitchen, washing in the shower, flushing the toilet. Every use of water now has to come under scrutiny, as we have to cut back 35%. Try that today in your home just for fun and I think how close you come to 35%, because it is a challenge to use water intelligently and prudently when you've been used to wasting it.
yes, 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 Michael.
You remember those days?
I remember, well, when I was growing up in New York, we had a severe drought. I mean, I still remember, and I was just looking for it. We had a severe drought. And I remember the jingles on WABC. They did, Pam's, I guess, did a jingle.
Water awareness.
What was it? Save water while there's water to save.
Yes, that would be a good idea. Because if you wait till there is no water, you can't save any.
Exactly. So I remember that. I listen, one question I've always had in mind about this is simply how can you continue to build houses in a place, right, where there's less than enough water for the people who need the water? That's number one. Number two, why do you grow crops there, such as almonds, that you need 7 times the water of most other crops? I believe it's 7 times the water of most other crops to bring to fruition.
It pays for everything in Fresno right now, the almond industry.
Yeah.
Or as they say among the farmers, almonds.
Yeah. I mean, don't you at some point have to rethink your strategies? Because it's something that, listen, no water, no life. Ask anybody on Mars. They'll tell you. It got awful rough around here when the rivers dried up a million
That was
years.
an awful time on Mars. That was a terrible
It's not
time.
a good time.
Nobody forgets that.
And that's why, you have to do it. You have to save water. I mean, why? And again, here it's so funny because here there's a lot of water conservation methods in effect. People have rain barrels so that they can capture the rainwater and water their plants. Car washes use well water. All different things like that. It's a precious commodity, and we don't. I remember watching a video not too long ago, and a guy was driving from Phoenix to Yuma, and halfway through the ride, it's all desert, and all of a sudden you get to some miles out of Yuma, and it's all these beautiful farmland with crops and all this kind of stuff.
Where'd all that come from? Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching it, I'm saying, I don't remember, and I've driven that route from Phoenix to Yuma a bunch of times. And how in the world are they growing stuff out there? Well, I'll tell you how. They're bringing water in
From the river.
from the river. They use it. So maybe we need to rethink the idea of growing crops in the desert. Maybe people that live in Arizona shouldn't have green lawn, grass lawns.
Same thing for LA. The rule is going to be you can water your lawn 1 day a week. And I'm just thinking, why? If you can't water your lawn 6 days of the week, why go to the trouble of watering it all day long on the 7th day when everybody uses all the water that they would have used during the week? Make it this way. No watering the lawn. We need the water. Your lawn is going to be fine in lawn heaven.
Go out and get yourself some synthetic turf. If you're that married to having a green lawn in front of your house,
you want something green, get something green. Stop watering it.
Call whatever it is, the turf people, and have them come by and install one of those, and you never have to water it. It just sits there.
In the long run, you'll be better off.
Yeah, it never turns brown. It never does anything. It just sits there and it bees green.
So we come to these solutions and conclusions and decisions once every 2 years, once every 4 years, once every 5 years. Now it's every year. And we pretended last year that we didn't have a drought. Now we have to pull the plug. on our activity, on our human activity, which is misusing water that we think that we had enough of. Well, we don't have enough anymore. And one of the tests is going to be Southern California, right where I live, because there's one, a lot of us, and two, it's hot and sunny, and three, are we wasting water growing grass in front of our homes when we don't have to, when we could use the water for actually staying alive on the planet? And also, they have never done it, and it's because it's expensive. But why don't we have desalination plants, which we do not have?
Right.
Nowhere on the West Coast. In Mexico, they have them, but not in California. And why is that? Why have we, after all these droughts and all these struggles, still not taken the salt out of water and used it for something within the state of California? We don't do it.
I don't understand it. I thought 20 years ago, I thought that desalination was going to be.
How do you think Saudi Arabia grows all those crops in the middle of the Saudi desert? They have their own plants.
Yeah.
They make the water. They make the water usable.
It's amazing to me that that as advanced as we are in other things, we take water, which is the basic building block of life, for granted. That we think that it's always going to be running down that river, and we think and it's not.
No.
Look at Lake Mead. Look at Lake Powell.
Look at the snowpacks of the Canadian Rockies. That's where that snow's supposed to.
In northern Arizona, on the Arizona Utah line. I mean, it's dry.
And they're about 5,000 feet. Yeah, they should have snow, right?
Lake Tahoe, dry.
Lake Shasta.
Oh, Shasta is heartbreaking. I mean, I've driven by it a number of times, and you used to seeing, the water coming up to the bridges there, and it's nowhere near them.
No.
You see, I mean, it really is. You see, those are the indicators of our life, and as those things take down, our life starts to change considerably.
Yeah, we panic and use more water under those conditions.
Stop building houses.
So my suggestion for those watching, and this affects everyone on the West Coast, but especially California, is start with the use of your toilet. Every time you're taking a pee, remember, you don't have to flush that.
Right.
You do not. When you're washing your dishes after breakfast, wet the dishes, soap them up, and rinse them. Don't let the water run uncontrollably. It's a bad habit. It's so easy to do. It's so difficult to break because we don't think about it. So now think of water as your friend. You can't live without your friend. Your friend's support is absolutely connected to your survival, and treat it that way.
Yeah.
Right now, if everybody in Los Angeles, if 10 million people have been told to cut their water use by 35%, how many do you think are actually going to answer the call?
Well, it's, I know that it's been talked about for many years here, building a water pipeline down to California and selling the water to Californians. I don't know, though. I'm not 100% sure how long our water is going to hold out. Our lakes and streams and different aquifers up here are not normal either.
And with agriculture taking water at their own rate, you don't know always what the aquifer is, how healthy it might be. It's different. It's going to be different places, and it takes water to grow cherries and apples. It takes good and winter wheat.
We are in the middle of a climate crisis, and whether the federal government wants to recognize it, whether business wants to recognize it, it is evident that something is wrong. And we need, as a nation, as a world, to get on this problem and figure it out.
Whatever happened to the Mayas and the Aztecs? Oh, they were just stupid. Nothing like that's going to happen to us. But they left their meals in their homes and everything, and they're gone. We don't know where they went. We don't know what happened to them. Probably chickenpox. Who knows what it was? Something like that could never affect us. Well, all you got to do is look at the history of the world and see that people get wiped out all the time. The one thing that planet Earth does over and over again is mass extinctions. It cleans the place. It says, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm tired, but I still think we should start over and try from the top. From the top, here we go. Whoop. Next case.
Yeah. And water is big, is a very easy way to stop people in their tracks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How long can you tread water? 10
Well,
years?
stop flushing your toilet. Who cares if the house stinks a little bit? Don't worry about it.
You'll be fine.
You'll be okay. Just flush once a day.
It works.
Yeah. And don't leave your shower running. Take shorter showers, which for me I'm trying to do. I'm trying to take shorter showers. I'm trying to, I'm trying to conserve what I'm going to go. As a matter of fact, I was hoping to go get a rain barrel for the house. I had one over when I was back in West Seattle, and it was great.
That's a good idea.
You get a covered rain barrel so the mosquitoes don't get in the summer, and it gives you a large amount of water to use for watering your plants, washing your car if you want to.
We used to have big water catchers in the shower. So when you were taking your shower, your buckets are filling up around you. It's a little cumbersome in the shower, but you get wet, soap up, get wet, turn off the water, soap up, get all your bits and pieces clean as you can, rinse off, and then the water that you've used can also is caught in the barrels, so you can use that within the house to flush toilets or to water your garden.
Right. And that's really putting a little bit of you into the garden.
It is, yes, and that's where you belong at all times. So
exactly.
That's my message. We'll be talking about this some more because it's going to be a hot summer, as it always is in California, and we don't have the water that we need. Now that's a crisis every bit as impossible to ignore as the one in Ukraine right now. How much longer can the war in Ukraine just drag on day after day after death after grave after?
You kill the last person, I guess, if you're Vladimir Putin, right? Now, let me ask you a question. You brought up Ukraine. I'm glad you did. In the final couple of minutes that we have, there's talk of over the weekend, Nancy Pelosi and a bunch of people went over to Ukraine, met with the president. So now there's talk at some point here in the very near future that Biden is going to go over there.
I think he should.
I'm not so sure, Michael.
I think it should be a secret because the last time they blew the cover on it, and we almost didn't send the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense. So it's got to be quiet. It's got to be, and he can't come just to say, "You're doing a great job. Hey, look at the time. I got to go."
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to Washington, but you guys stay here in Ukraine, okay? Because hey, good job.
Jill wants me home quickly.
It's got to be more than that. It's got to be a joint announcement that right now your borders are secure. We're going to make sure that this goes no further. It's got to be a dynamic, extraordinary announcement. And
if you do that, when you're, I don't know. There's just something hinky about it to me. About him. I know members of Congress are going in, but this is. This is our war and it's not our war. And I think the president going over there, I
think that he has to represent NATO, not the United States.
Yeah, I think, now I think I would feel more comfortable if a group of
the top 10 leaders,
right, the top 10 leaders went over with him, or 5, or, not just Biden. Send 5 people, send 5 leaders in to show a show of unity.
Make it a NATO endorsement, not a U.S. endorsement.
Right. And get them in there, get the photos, get the, deliver a package of something that you're, money, whatever you're going to give them, and get the hell out. I'm just not always in favor of presidents going to war zones.
Well, I like the fact that he says, Putin, you can't do this. Where are you going to go? To the Donbass and hang around in an open Jeep? I'm here in town. I'm here in the capital. Where's Vladimir Putin?
Well, yeah, but Vladimir Putin doesn't need to be there. He's got a bunch of stooges that run things for him, and he has an information machine that has people in um, in Russia, thinking that this is like a holy mission for the Russians.
That's true.
So there are many people in Russia who applaud this war.
And can you, in your imagination, did you think that the Russians were this bloodthirsty, this
No,
this awful as individuals? Where are they getting the emotions to act in such a barbarous way?
I knew that. I knew the history. I mean, I had read books and seen documentaries on what they did when they went into Germany in
They cleaned house.
1945.
Yeah,
Um,
it was drastic.
yeah, I mean, there's just so many accounts of, them killing people and torturing people and raping women, and but I had thought that Russia seemed to me to be a fairly civilized country at this point.
Well, we
And
were
that
wrong
wasn't
again,
there,
Vinnie.
that they would, but it seems that it's not that way. It seems that there's, soldiers have to follow orders. Okay. I believe that the soldiers that go in there, but they don't have to rape women. They don't have to tie people hands behind their back and execute them. They don't. Those are things they can take people. How many prisoners of war are there?
Well, if we're hearing accurately, they're taking great numbers of people, Ukrainian citizens, to Russia under guard to work as slave laborers.
Yeah, I mean that's a trick right out of the old Hitler book, isn't it?
That is the Hitler trick.
It's right out of the
Heinrich,
old Hitler book.
Heinrich Himmler, how many slaves do you need? Because we have a trainload right here. We can gas them or we can send them to you. What do you need them for?
Yeah, when we're going to find out that they're doing medical experiments on them.
Won't be long.
Listen, I'm surprised if Vladimir Putin is still running around. If this was President Kennedy's CIA, even if this is George Bush's CIA.
I'd like to know if the CIA knows where Putin is right now. Where is he sitting? What's he doing?
I'm sure they do, Michael. I mean, he's not. Yeah, I mean, now they may not know how to get to him. I mean, I would think that Putin's, well, yeah, I think you have to flip one of the people on a state. Yeah, I mean, listen, they tried to kill Hitler 42 times.
That is amazing that he survives as long as he did.
He survived 42 assassination attempts. So, it says to me it's not easy to get these guys.
And we didn't get Castro with his exploding cigars. So,
right. I mean, we couldn't even get Castro. Now, I think, to be fair, at a certain point, we stopped trying to get Castro.
Yes.
We just said, okay, it's Cuba, who gives a shit? Let it just,
Maybe we put a little plutonium in his tea. Does Putin like tea?
Yeah, I don't think the United States really saw Castro as a threat after the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I think that was part of the deal.
Let him go.
You don't let the Russians put missiles in your country. We will not try to kill you every week,
like we used to.
It's not funny. It's kind of sad. I've been to the Bay of Pigs Museum in Cuba, and it's really a fascinating place. If you ever get to go to Cuba, you really need to go to the Bay of Pigs, the museum, because it tells the story from the opposite side of what we've always been told.
I got this wonderful place. You're going to love the cottage that we have on the beach right at the Bay of Pigs. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Isn't there any place else around there? No, you're going to like this Bay of Pigs. Everyone loves that place.
Playa de Girón. It's very, very interesting reading, very interesting to walk in there and look at some of the, the stories and talk to people and hear some of the stories of what was going on. This should have been an operation that took like that, and yet, and it's,
Trouble. It was trouble from the start, trouble through the middle, and an ugly ending.
and you could you could look at this and kind of come to the conclusion why the Cuban Americans that were behind this would want Kennedy dead.
It came up mud, as they would say.
Well, yeah, he pulled his support at the last moment, and
That's not how you do it.
yeah, when you're looking, but when you're storming up the beach and you're looking behind you, and there's the people that were supposed to be behind you ain't coming.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
very
tonight the Giants have the Dodgers. Who are the Mets playing?
Mets are Washington, I believe.
Oh, we just finished with them. They're exhausted. You should have fun.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's Washington. I'd have let me look.
Watch out for those Washington teams. They score runs in bunches. That's what they did to the Giants. 5 runs in the first inning.
Yeah, today is the Braves. That's right. I forgot. The Braves visit the Mets.
Tomahawk schmamahawk. That's all. That's what I got to say to you.
Ain't the same since Larry is off the Braves, but we'll see. They host the world champion Braves. How's that for?
Doesn't sound right. Let's check that. We'll check that for Wednesday for sure.
Yeah, exactly. All right. That'll wrap it up, Mikey. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, Vin.
Good to be seen, and we will see you Wednesday morning at 10 if the Lord's willing and the creek don't rise.
Something about Manischewitz. I can't remember.
Mikey, it's the way we end the show all in tribute to Sammy Davis Jr., our hero, the guy who we are sure would have been our a weekly guest with us.
He wanted to be the drummer in my band, but we cut him. Said, we're looking for somebody who can dance.
Remember Sammy's famous words, I gotta be me.
I gotta be me.
I gotta be me. What
Try
else?
being someone else. Like imagine if he had tried to be Peter Lawford. What a terrible eventuality that would have been.
Yeah, there was one Sammy, and Sammy
or Joey Bishop. Yeah,
was the man because he preached one thing and one thing only in his life:
peace, love,
love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine. See you Wednesday, Vin.
See you Wednesday, Mikey.